Is this new from Charlie? No, it's from yesterday. What is happening at fucking baseball games lately? I did want to. I did actually pull this up because yeah, this is an interesting subject matter. It's another fucking Nintendo, another instance of Nintendo copywriting some more bullshit. They keep, they've had this like aggressive copywriting extremely vague fucking things in video games trend, and they done did it again. They just did this. Like, what patent offices are allowing this bullshit? That's what I'm curious. Like, I don't understand. Like, where the fuck are they applying for these patents? And like, where they're genuinely getting away with it. Where it's like summoning a character and letting it fight another. How is that a patentable concept? I used to say that this was like, oh well, they probably pulled this shit off back in, maybe a decade ago or something, where they had just really vague terms and judges that didn't know any better. And it's like, things that have been grandfathered in over time. But no, this just happened fucking the day before yesterday. They just picked up another incredibly vague patent that they're going to be using aggressively in court lawsuits. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? What patent offices are allowing this bullshit?
Media is claiming that this and to be on the correct side of history with this personal decision of mine. I cannot stand this company. I'm sure a lot of you are seeing the headlines.
Yeah, and everybody, I've been very outspoken about Nintendo lately. I'm trying to bring into the limelight just the nonsense that Nintendo's been doing lately. Because it's another company where it's like 98% to 99% of their customers have no fucking clue. And that is why they will continue to do these extremely, malicious practices. Because largely their customers are fucking stupid. They're just not privy to the behind the scenes nonsense. They just fucking new Donkey Kong. Let me get that shit. And that's what they've been preying on for so long. So like yeah, I like talking about Nintendo. I like any like light I can shed on Nintendo's just fucking diabolical business practices. I will 100%.
Right now about how Nintendo has successfully filed a patent in the US on summoning a character and letting it fight another. Basically, the media is claiming that this patent is going to stop other games from having summoning that will allow the summon to follow you and fight others for you, which is a very basic gameplay mechanic for tons and tons and tons of games.
Right, right. It's an extremely fucking common concept, as is riding a bird, but they have the patent on that, as is the fucking seeing the silhouette of a character when it's standing behind an object, but they have the patent on that too.
Summoning has been a staple in gaming since the beginning of time, since the first couple of cavemen banging stones.
Like where does that even end? Like, were they going to go after gacha games? The gacha games have summoning and monsters that are summoned fighting each other. That would fall within this fucking extremely vague criteria.
Thinking of video games in his head. Summoning has just always been there. Obviously, this is laser focused on Pow World because Nintendo is deep on that case. They're pulling out.
No. They don't give a fuck about Pow World anymore. I don't think they do. They're still in court with them, but I don't think they give a fuck about Pow World anymore. This is them setting the fucking table for Hoyoverse. Okay, the real fucking contender, a new challenger arrives, is about to step into the arena. Okay, Hoyoverse they're moving into this space, into the fucking collectible monster space. That's why all of this Nintendo shit is happening right now, because they're setting the fucking table. They're trying to line themselves up to be able to pressure Hoyoverse as much as possible out of the space,
All this stops. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to recruit God Almighty to come down and smite Pow World HQ for the sin of stepping on Pokemon's creature-catching toes. But tons of people are worried with the way that the patent is currently filed that this will hit things far beyond just creature-catching games.
Of course.
It will hit tons of products that have summoning as a mechanic, which is a very basic gameplay element. So things like Final Fantasy, Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, or even classes in video games that use pets and minions. So
that's the whole problem with all this shit. Like, yeah, what the fuck? How deep does this rabbit hole go? When you let them copyright a concept as vague as summoning a creature, all it takes is the right judge at that point to say, oh well, yeah, obviously this copyright was fucking infringed upon, and like what Like, we need to seriously, critically be looking at these patent offices that are allowing companies and corporations to get away with this dumb shit. This happened 2 days ago. People are not stupid anymore. You can't claim ignorance anymore. They have a history of this shit. You can't tell me like the Nintendo lawyers go to the patent office and like, hey, you know, we just we had this idea here. It's this concept here. We'd love to get a patent on it. Like you know who they are. You know what they're doing. Why would you let them do that? Somebody's getting paid some big money. That's my guess. The patent office is in the back pocket of Nintendo, and they're just getting fucking rich off this shit.
Necromancy, World of Warcraft with Hunter, where you'd summon
Mm-hmm.
your pets to go attack the bad guys, that kind of thing. They believe that this patent is also potentially going to have ramifications on that, which again is a very basic gameplay element that games have used for decades.
Well, and again, all of their copyrights follow this pattern. They are all incredibly vague concepts that they could really use to go after just about anybody. And I think that in any instance in which somebody hits a certain capital criteria, they will. And so any instance like Power World, as soon as they hit a certain capital, like as soon as they hit a certain amount of money, yeah, they're like, all right, well, time to pull this out of the back pocket, and yeah, we'll just squish these guys.
Through the patent, suffered through all of those pages because I could not believe that this would even be something that could be successfully filed because
yes,
it's unenforceable. Like, you can't expect every game that uses summoning to now not be able to do that because they'd, be fucking suckling off the teat of Nintendo's patent. There's just no world where that would actually go through properly. It couldn't. And after the agonizing misery of going through all of these pages, which at times feel unnecessarily bloated in explanations, especially their background, like, Jesus Christ, you could have boiled that down to like a page or two. Like, holy shit, that's like me explaining a peanut butter and jelly in like fucking 2,000 words. But like, I went through all of this, and it seems like a lot of it is pretty specific. Though I do think there is wiggle room for some broad interpretations of the filing. It seems like what they are specifically claiming are kind of pretty like laser guided on PAL World itself. It seems like they're mainly just using patents as a weapon solely for PAL World. But I do think it opens the door that there could be some problems down the line in other avenues.
They're basically shadow boxing with Power World. Power World is their straw man. That they're training dummy. They're just getting trained up. They're practicing up. They're getting ready for Hoyoverse. That's all this is.
But I would be very surprised.
Power World was a safe target for them to go after.
On any games currently out there that aren't PAL World, which I still think is just dog shit. And I hate this direction Nintendo takes these days, where they patent everything. Everything Nintendo has ever used in a game, Nintendo now wants to patent to stop others from even thinking about exploring creative options with those kind of mechanics. I think that is so anti-creative expression, and it is stifling to creativity in this medium. I think it super sucks. So even if this is specific enough to only hurt PAL World, I still think this is fucking horrible overall, where anytime there's a game that they have issue with, they'll just patent things around it, so that way they can more effectively take them down. So let's go ahead and take a deeper dive here into exactly what they've now registered, what Nintendo owns entirely that no one else can touch anymore. This is their holy grail mechanics. Performing control of moving a player character on a field in a virtual space based on a moving operation input. Performing control of causing a sub-character to appear on the field based on a first operation input. And when an enemy...
Performing control of causing a sub-character to appear on the field based on a first operation input. Yeah. That's literally just summoning a creature. Non-transitionary computer-readable storage medium having stored therein a game program causing the processor of information processing apparatus to execute, performing a control of moving a character on a field of virtual space based on a movement operation input, performing control of causing a sub-character to appear on the field based on the first operation input. And when an enemy character is placed on a location where the sub-character is caused to appear, controlling a battle between the sub-character and the enemy character by a first mode in which the battle precedes the operation input. This is vague enough that you could absolutely claim that a hunter summoning a pet in World of Warcraft is performing command input to create a sub character on the field that would then create battle between the sub character and the enemy character. Like you could absolutely claim that that falls within this criteria.
Enemy character is placed at a location where the sub-character is caused to appear, controlling a battle between the sub-character and the enemy character by a first mode in which the battle proceeds based on an operation input, and when the enemy character is not placed at the location where the sub-character is caused to appear, starting automatic control of automatically moving the sub-character that has appeared, and performing control of moving the sub-character in a predetermined direction on the field based on a second operation input, and when the enemy character is placed at a location of a designation, controlling a battle between the sub-character and the enemy character by a second mode in which the battle automatically proceeds. I know that jargon can be a little confusing and hard to understand exactly what it's saying. Unfortunately, that's just how a lot of patent filings sound, like somebody overdosing while trying to explain string theory. This article kind of breaks it down into like what exactly it means. So like move character in virtual space, summon character, call it sub-character, by which means it's not the player character. For example, a little monster like a Pokemon that the player has at its disposal.
Right.
Then there's
So in order to fall into this infringement lawsuit, all that has to happen, it has to be on a PC or a computer device. It has to be on a gaming device. That's all number one means. You have to be able to move your character in a virtual space. So basically, it has to be in a video game. That's all number two means. You must be able to summon a character. They call it a sub-character, by which they mean it's not a player character, but example, a monster that which such as a Pokemon. So, but if you were to remove the such as a Pokemon, you summon a secondary character. This is literally in Diablo 3, if a necromancer summons skeletons, these are secondary characters. They are sub-characters by this definition. Then the logic branches out with items 4 and 5 being mutually exclusive scenarios, but reuniting them again in 6. This is about summoning the sub-character in the place where there's already another character where it will then, when instructed to do so, fight. As a necromancer in Diablo spawns in their skeletons within range of melee mobs, they would then fight as instructed to do so. So like this terminology is incredibly vague and can be used across almost any game that involves pets, that has any kind of pets. Hell, I can even argue this for Summoner's War. Absolutely, you could argue this for Summoner's War. Like it would be a little harder. Like there's a lot less like sub character summoning, but like there's so many games in which the main character creates a secondary character by any sort of means, and that this would fall into that.
Alternating scenarios here where the sub-character is summoned in a place where there's already a character, so then it will fight, and then it is summoned in a place where there is not another character, so it doesn't fight immediately. The final step is about sending the sub-character in a direction, then letting an automatic battle ensue with another character. Then if you look at their flowchart, they have like the entire thing broken down here about the field processing.
Okay.
Move character, control enemy character, they come in contact. Basically, it goes through what a battle looks like. So then throwing motion instruction, and then it goes through their checks. Is there selection target? And then if there is, sub-character will appear. Sub-character fights. Basically, if you read through this, it is like the Pokemon formula. This may be a look at the Krabby Patty and what goes on it here, but this isn't actually overly relevant to the patent and their claims in it. This is them laying out their flow as...
You look at 5 covers the other scenarios if nothing's around to fight, so basically all summons. Yeah. I mean, when it gets into the flowcharts, it's a little more... I mean, most of this is nonsense. Like, as far as what we're talking about, like, the end of battle stuff doesn't fucking matter. So, sub-character control processing, yes. Target movement instruction. This is just selecting... Do you have movement instruction? Is there selection target? So, are there hostile targets? If no, is there a target object in range? If no, set position in front of the target position. So yeah, even if there are no targets, this would still be applicable.
A look at the Krabby Patty and what goes on it here, but this isn't actually overly relevant to the patent.
No, it doesn't feel very relevant.
This is them laying out their flow as examples of their processing and how all of it plays out. That is not what they are specifically targeting. So that's figures 18 through 22, and they're shown as an example of how their processing is executed in these games. But the patent isn't aiming to just patent everything you read in that flowchart. Reading through this patent, it is looking at these sub-characters that get summoned, and if they are summoned on top of an enemy in a persistent environment, it will automatically fight the enemy. If it is summoned when there is no enemy present, it will follow the player around performing autonomous actions, that kind of thing. Specifically, I
Right.
believe it would be manual versus automatic. So if it
Which that's not even really the Pokemon paradigm, right? Like that this could like the idea of summoning a pet and having the pet follow you around and then going and attacking things, that's not really Pokemon. Can we acknowledge that? Like that's not Pokemon. Pokemon has never been like that. Pokemon has always been you enter instance combat and you enter instance turn by turn combat, and that is how combat is handled. I mean, I think it's changed a little bit lately with like Power World has a bit of a different incorporation of that. But like even Power World's incorporation doesn't seem like Pokemon's. I don't know. That's just me.
the game has both manual and automatic battling for these summons, then these would apply. So, like, if you're summoned skeletons or something as a necromancer, if there are no enemies, they will
I love that he used the exact same example as me.
go find one and then automatically fight it, I believe would then be an application. Again, it is pretty confusing, but what they are listing here with their Pokemon flow is just examples of what like they have and what they aim to protect through these patents. The claims are the important parts of what they are filing, which many are interpreting as pretty broad. And there is room that it could be viewed broadly. Like, yes, it seems like it looks to, put the lock and key on Nintendo's toys so no one ever gets to play with them again. But the way that you can read this filing does apply to more than just like the creature catching aspect of Nintendo Pokemon games and stuff like that. Like, I can understand confusion because it is confusing. It is weird. It is messy.
It just seems like they're patenting something that's not even really Pokemon. Now, the more I think about this, the let's see, we're at 747. Like this style of like open world throwing out a summoned animal and that summoned animal interacting with things, that's not really Pokemon. At least that's not really how the games have functioned. At least as far as I've played. Even in Sword and Shield, which were the last two, honestly, that I played at any real extent, you still had like instance combat in that. You caught things open world, but you fought in instant combat. So I don't know. This just seems like it's actually this. It seems like they're actually copywriting a Power World game style thing here, because the game style thing here of having an open world pet interaction like that is not like that's a Power World thing. That's not a Pokemon thing.
It is messy, and this is entirely uncalled for and unnecessary. And even again, if it is specific to Power World alone, this threat of a patent that Nintendo owns around summoning and certain things with summoning might just be a deterrent from someone else out there looking to explore a creature catching game or a game that uses some kind of summoning mechanics in like a container, because Nintendo now has like the Pokeballs and like creatures held in something that you throw. Like, them just having so many patents that they squat on and them being as litigious and aggressive as they are, that in and of itself can just be a weapon. Like that fear of Nintendo coming at you legally for one of your gameplay ideas that maybe doesn't have anything to do with like Pokemon, but it could still fall.
I mean, the reality is it's embarrassing that that Nintendo has to clutch to these legal pearls. They have to employ these malicious and fucking diabolical business practices to try and clutch to the monopoly that's being pulled away from them. They should have held their monopoly by producing good content, right? That's why they had the monopoly, was the good content, not because of legal bullshit. So it's like if they if they just continued producing good games, they wouldn't have these problems. If they continued innovating and moving Pokemon forward in interesting directions, they would never have had the problem of people breaking into their fucking space, because they would have still just had the best thing on the fucking market. They would have had the game that has the most iterations, the most success. Like, trying to break into an ARPG, like, PoE's got a pretty fucking good lock on that space. Even RTSs, StarCraft 2 has a pretty solid fucking lock on that space. Like, there's just, I don't know. I think that they just should have been more innovative in their directions and tried to move the Pokemon the Monster Catcher franchise forward in interesting ways and just caught in the new audience and brought in the new audience to themselves by that, instead of just trying to if anybody innovates a new game that is similar in concept, you try and shut them down legally. No, you don't do that. You just do what World of Warcraft did. You take their, like, if somebody brings up a good game, what did World of Warcraft do? They took all the shit from the good games and they put it in their game. And then they just kept doing that. And anytime somebody brought it, like some contender entered the arena, WoW would take the good shit from their game, the things that the players liked. They'd be like, "Oh, that's a good idea. We'll do that too." And then suddenly WoW just also had that feature. Like that should have been the direction they went with. They should have been like, if somebody brings, like, Power World brings up a cool concept. Okay, well, the next game you come out, you do it better. You do it better because you also have the fucking decades and decades of gaming experience and fucking, like, the monstrous company backing that you have. Like, you just take that concept and do it better. You should be able to. You're motherfucking Nintendo. And instead, they're taking this direction, the legal pursuit direction. It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing.
Under their interpretation of a patent, that now they don't want to like mess around with that idea anymore because they can't afford to get sued by Nintendo. Them just having all of these patents that are applying to broad ideas, even if they are specific enough in the actual filing, is still just scary to a lot of developers, I imagine, that can't afford to be targeted and attacked by Nintendo, even if they haven't done anything wrong. So they might not even take the chance of making that game. I just think it is just so shitty across the board. I feel like I got a little lost in the sauce of my explanation. Basically what I'm saying is, even if these patents are specific enough to only target Power World, which again I think is already shitty in and of itself, but even if it doesn't apply to other things, the confusion around these patents, and since they are targeting very basic gameplay ideas like summoning, people that are developing a game that uses summoning in some way that is even remotely adjacent to a creature catcher might be hesitant about pulling the trigger on development and going down that path because they could be afraid Nintendo would target them because of this patent. So, like, them just going down this path of patent everything, even if it doesn't target everyone now has to be aware of that and be, like, kind of worried, like, well, what's Nintendo going to do with it, and does it apply to my game? Is my game falling under these specific criteria? Because it might be, I'm not really sure. So it just becomes a big problem across the board, in my eyes. It just attacks creativity. It just makes it harder to explore ideas
Right,
from other
exactly.
people because Nintendo might come after them. And Nintendo is not shy about going after, like, literally anybody. They will target someone that only has, like, 5 followers on itch.io if they think they stepped on their fucking trademarks or something. Like, they will. So it becomes just a blanket threat. Nintendo with patents is a grizzly bear with a bazooka. Truly just unpredictable, but very dangerous for sure. Like, it is just a legitimately concerning thing for developers because now Nintendo will enforce those patents strictly, and you're not entirely sure if, like, well, does my summoning mechanics fall under these criteria? Potentially, I'm not really sure, you know? It just becomes bad. I don't like it. I think it is super shitty, and I'm so fucking tired of Nintendo's antics.
Mm-hmm.
I still have no plans on buying any Nintendo products. That has not changed. So, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah.
Same. Always a fucking fantastic video from Charlie. I can't think. Like, I do have a Switch, but honestly, I haven't played anything on that damn thing in forever. I really just got that. I played Sword and Shield for a little while on it. Back when I was, like, I had a partner and we were both playing that game. I really haven't played a Nintendo game since, though, right? I love Pokemon. I played the crap out of Pokemon Go when that was a big thing. But the Pokemon, like, games just don't. The reason why I kind of got out of them is that they've just been so stagnant. The Pokemon games have just failed to innovate in any real interesting ways over the last decade. Pokemon Go was the first real innovation in the Pokemon franchise, I felt. It was the real first game that took a genuine step in a new direction that was interesting. So of course it took, I was one of the first level 40s, like, in my state. And I didn't have a car at the time. I shit you not, I was clocking, like, I would be out 16 hours a day walking eggs and shit. Like, I was cranking hours into that game, walking eggs, and figuring out different ways around the house to walk eggs and stuff like that. This is a good video. What's this? Ketamine Dreamin'? An AI movie? What the hell?
Hey, I'm YL, and I could be live right here, right now. You won't know until you check. See ya.